got here. Okay. All right. Where'd you go?
Okay. I call to order the October meeting of the University of Minnesota Board of Regents. Thank you for joining us in the boardroom and by way of live stream today. I also note that we have Regent Farnsworth attending by way of Zoom. So we will begin today's agenda with the formal introduction of our new Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Gretchen Ritter. President Cunningham, would you please join me at the podium?
Thank you, Chair Hipsch. With great excitement, I would like to officially introduce Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Gretchen Ritter, to the University of Minnesota. Yay! A nationwide search, we welcome Provost Ritter to the University of Minnesota on July 31st. As a member of my cabinet and executive team and as our chief academic officer, Provost Ritter plays a vital role in advancing our land-grant mission of teaching, research, and outreach. Day to day, she oversees academic programming as well as the faculty and promotion throughout the university. Additionally, Provost Ritter is responsible for operations, planning, and growth on the Twin Cities campus, and this will include implementing our strategic roadmap here on the Twin Cities campus. Provost Ritter came to the University of Minnesota with a deep background in academics, research, and administrative leadership. Prior to her current role, she served as the inaugural Vice President for Civic Engagement and Education at Syracuse University. There, through programming and collaboration, she champions civil dialogue, free expression across differences, and appreciation around civic engagement. This followed her work as Vice Chancellor, Provost, and Chief Academic Officer, also at Syracuse University. Additionally, her long, prestigious career includes leadership experiences as a dean at the Ohio State University, Cornell University, and the University of Texas at Austin. A scholar with work spanning the U.S. Constitution, democracy in America, and women's citizenship, Provost Ritter earned a PhD in political science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and a Bachelor of Arts from Cornell University. Please join me again in welcoming Provost Ritter to the University of Minnesota.
Congratulations. Thank you. And congratulations to you too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You flustered. Your parents are talking.
That's our main duty whenever anyone's over there and then they walk around, so you know. They tell you that in No.
Okay, our second item is approval of the minutes and the consent report. The draft minutes are included in your docket. The consent report includes gifts, nominations to the University of Minnesota Foundation Board of Trustees, and a report of the naming committee. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question, make a comment, or separate out an item to be voted on separately before I invite a motion to approve the minutes and the consent report? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to make a comment that I am absolutely thrilled to be nominated to the University of Minnesota Foundation Board of Trustees, and also particularly that my mom, Luella Gross Goldberg, who's actually here today, was the first woman to chair the board of the University of Minnesota Foundation. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes and the consent report?
So moved.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Second. And there's a second. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Next, we will hear the report of the President Cunningham.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch and members of the board, and an extra congratulations to our new regents. From the first days of the University of Minnesota, the class of 2029 has been sent on a mission to meet people. They heard at their convocation that the greatest resource we have is one another, and we need to get to know each other to continue learning and discovering together. In that spirit and the honor of homecoming this weekend, I would like you to meet some of our own. Rather than tell you we are living out our land-grant mission, their stories show you how this university is employing research, teaching, and outreach to uplift the people of Minnesota, the nation, and the world. When Mu No Jun arrived at the University of Minnesota, he was thinking about dental school. But through his engagement in coursework and campus life, he discovered and pursued a passion for how food systems connect to sustainability, society, and policy. After becoming active on campus as a student and leading initiatives that connected academics with the community, Muno recently returned to the university as a staff member. He is now a senior admissions counselor in our College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences, and in that role, he hopes to guide students with the same mentorship and encouragement he once received. In addition to welcoming Muno back to campus, I extend a warm welcome to the newest members of our board, Joel Bergstrom, Samuel Hines, Ellen Luger, and Kosar Mohammed, Dr. Gretchen Ritter, our Executive Vice President and Provost, who, as we just celebrated, joined us on July 31st, and someone who has been here before, Charles Nees, the 10th Chancellor of the University of Minnesota Duluth, who was officially inaugurated on September 5th. I would also like to recognize Scott Lanyon and welcome him to the role of Special Advisor to the Provost for the St. Paul Campus Initiative that we are launching. Scott is helping us to reinvigorate this epicenter of food, agriculture, and natural resources while bringing communities together from across Minnesota. On the topic of bringing people together, we are committed to doing this, especially in uncertain times. As you know, given our land-grant mission, the University of Minnesota is mandated to serve the people of Minnesota through clinical care, medical education, and research. And when I say the people of Minnesota, that includes people in all 87 counties. To continue to fulfill this mission and address the urgent healthcare challenges we face, we must secure the long-term future of the University of Minnesota Medical School, which is part of the university that trains 70% of the state's healthcare professionals. While we have not yet reached an agreement, we are committed to continuing our partnerships with a variety of clinical partners, including Fairview. Any solution we have will involve mission support from an affiliated health system, as this is essential to fund research and teaching. An appropriate governance role for the university and for this board so that we can maintain the quality of our clinical care and facilities. Fair compensation for our faculty physicians, and the continuation of academic physician leadership, so critical to an academic health system. We will share more updates as they become available. On a related note, it's important that we touch on the safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff, and visitors, as this remains a highest priority. The university is continuously working to support the safety and security of our community and our surrounding neighborhoods. This involves a high level of collaboration and a combination of staffing, technology, infrastructure, community partnerships, and student-facing resources. The investments we have made are proving effective, and you can count on us to persist, leveraging every resource at our disposal in this effort. And in fact, the safety in our surrounding communities and campus is the best that it has been in a decade. We've also been bringing people together around Teamsters Local 320 and AFSCME 3800, following the agreements reached on September 12th and September 17th that we discussed yesterday. Additionally, following the agreement with Teamsters Local 320, we welcomed Farm Aid to Huntington Bank Stadium, which was super fun. Our involvement in this event is just one of the myriad ways that the university supports our agricultural industry and our hardworking farming community across Minnesota. Speaking of community, Amen Ellison was searching for this community at University of Minnesota. Having graduated in a high school class of around 50 students, Amen says it was daunting to be among thousands at Minnesota Carlson School. So he did what he now encourages other students to do, to seek out support. He found it through membership in the National Association of Black Accountants. Since joining NABA, Amen has participated in outreach efforts to engage high school and college students alike. He and a friend even initiated a competition to bring organizations together on campus. Their focus creating an initiative that promotes the well-being of the greater Twin Cities. Like Amin, there are students, faculty, and staff across the university engaging in efforts and experiences that contribute to the betterment of their communities and our community as a whole. Recently, our own Calvin Phillips, our Vice President for Student Affairs, was recognized for his efforts, national efforts in this area. The National Association of Student Personnel Administrators Foundation honored him, and he received the Pillars of the Profession Award for his service to NASPA, our university, and his field. And a deep congratulations to Calvin. At the University of Minnesota, we're also building community from the inside out. We have instituted faculty town halls and faculty forums so that I can hear from university leaders and personally address their questions and concerns. These initiatives have been very well received, and as we learn from faculty, they have the added benefit of fostering connection and community across disciplinary backgrounds. Through each of our campuses, the good news continues. The Twin Cities was recognized by Forbes as a 2025 Best Employer for Women and Best Employer by State. Morris, Duluth, and the Twin Cities all earned a spot in Forbes Top Colleges 2026 rankings. Morris also ranks 6th in the Top Public Schools National Liberal Arts Colleges category from U.S. News and World Report. Duluth and Crookston were recognized as top performers in research in the 2025 Sustainable Campus Index. This recognition came from the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. Rochester welcomed a record-breaking number of new students to campus on September 2nd, and Crookston is on track for the highest enrollment year in its history. University-wide, we are up in overall enrollment and degree-seeking enrollment. We're also working diligently to deliver a system-wide strategic plan. Yesterday morning was super fun at the launch, and you'll hear more. Recently, we completed 2-day visits to each campus to inform the enrollment planning work. These visits will help us build on current strengths and identify opportunities for enhancements. This includes a more strategic approach to recruitment outreach with what we learned in our enrollment planning visits, and we'll know better how to recruit potential students to the campus that best meets their individual needs and goals. As we continue to look ahead, we do so with great optimism. People like Isabel Smalley are a reason why. The recent University of Minnesota Duluth graduate combined 2 fields of study, computer science and biology, to equip herself with the tools she needs to explore plant genetics and evolution. The result, she identified a new species of desert fern. Here, she is in the Mojave Desert looking for the fern she named. This interdisciplinary approach is how we are all thinking about our strategic roadmap as well. Introduced to the university yesterday, our 5 imperatives build on the strengths and light our way to an even brighter future. With your approval, and we'll hear more about this from Vice President Ryan Schmiesing later today, we will shift from imagination to action to implement the following: preparing students to be fully engaged and active in our state, nation, and world, innovate to transform the future of learning, serve communities through knowledge exchange in the arts, health, economy, and culture, and advance our excellence to lead in the discovery and application of sustainable solutions, improving environmental, animal, and plant and human health, and securing our continued future as a world-class university by strategically investing in our talented workforce, operations, and facilities. In concert with this strategic roadmap, we're working to refresh our brand. I want to assure everyone maroon and gold is here to stay. Do not panic. However, for the past 2 decades, Driven to Discover has been a great success in building the university's reputation for research and innovation. And although it has served us well, we are at a key inflection point in higher education and our culture at large, and the brand needs to reflect and respond meaningfully. And we'll be hearing more about this later today from Vice President Gotti. We plan to launch this brand internally in March of next year and then follow with an external campaign launch leading to the 26-27 academic year with the new brand. Part of charting this course forward includes a new approach to our capital plan, which we discussed yesterday. We're excited about the possibilities for new strategic investments and the revenue sources that will afford us to do so. Importantly, while the approach will be different, the core mission will not. We remain fully committed to students, faculty, and staff, and this includes them providing them with the resources and spaces to succeed. The greatest resource, of course, we have is one another. So thank you for your continued collaboration and your support as we meet this moment together and move our mission forward together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, President Cunningham. Turning to my report, I would like to recognize the start of a new year for the board. We have new regents, new committee leadership, and a lot of important work ahead of us. We began our new year at the board's annual July retreat in Crookston, where we and the president completed annual priority settings. Our key themes of our priorities include implementation of our new strategic plan, changes to the university's operating and capital budget models to sustain the university's excellence and prepare for uncertainty, and ensuring the university's clinical partnerships serve the needs of many Minnesotans. Since then, we've welcomed thousands of new and returning students at all 5 campuses, and the board held its first active learning session on September 18th in St. Paul. This was the first of 4 sessions planned this year in which Regents will be able to see and hear directly from students, faculty, and staff in the place where our mission is happening. I want to thank everyone who hosted the board that day. St. Paul is so important to the university's mission, and I look forward to seeing how facility and other improvements can revitalize St. Paul to help carry out our mission. That concludes my report. Okay, item number 5 is the receive and file reports. Please note the following items that are reported in the docket materials for this meeting: the virtual forum comments, the annual report on legal matters, the summary of expenditures for the Office of the President, East Cliff, and the Office of the Board of Regents, and report on the implementation and impact of institutional speech guiding principles. I'll add that Regent Tad Johnson, who was a major proponent of this report and helped to craft the language requiring it, has submitted written questions that the administration will be addressing. If any other regents would like to do the same, please send your questions to OBR. So next we'll hear an update on the strategic facilitation process for Minnesota healthcare. Let me welcome Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison and strategic facilitator Lois Quam. Before we turn to their comments, I want to invite the president and our board vice chairs to provide some framing comments. We are fortunate and proud to have an accomplished academic physician leading the university at this critical juncture in our healthcare conversation. President Cunningham, you have this board's strong support as we work together to determine how the university's medical school and faculty can best meet the needs of Minnesota. Would you please kick off this item?
Thank you, Chair Hips, and welcome to our guests
Thank
today. The University of Minnesota Medical School and its faculty practice have an obligation to serve as a public resource dedicated to meet the healthcare needs of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota Medical School does many things. It delivers high-quality academic medicine to the patients they care for and have the privilege to serve. It educates a healthcare workforce of Minnesota. It teaches best practices, and it brings cutting-edge cures and remedies through research vital to tackling the biggest health and healthcare challenges facing our state. The University of Minnesota Medical School is among the nation's best, recognized for its excellence and leadership on many fronts, especially in primary care. Our Department of Family Medicine, for example, is #1 in the nation for the National Institutes of Health funding for research, and that #1 ranking reflects our extraordinary commitment and leadership in primary care and solving the biggest research questions in the field, including those that affect rural health. In 2024, the medical school ranked #9 in the nation among public medical schools, with almost 900 active clinical trials that bring cutting-edge cures every day to patients all across Minnesota, and #15 in the nation for the most graduates practicing in rural areas. The university needs the assurance that the University of Minnesota Medical School, the facility that bears our name, continues to be a platform from which the medical school and faculty can continue its upward trajectory and national prominence, and that can train the next generation of Minnesota healthcare providers. We need to ensure that patients have the care they need in 2027, and a strong University of Minnesota Medical School so that patients have a physician and care they need in 2037. The university, the medical school, and UM physicians are interconnected with Fairview currently. We are proud of the hard-earned success of our organizations have achieved working together, and we recognize that changes in healthcare regulations and the evolving marketplace create an urgent need for everyone to design a new and better chapter of how we will work. All parties need to continue to engage in earnest and thoughtful dialogue. We respect that the Fairview mission and the university mission are different, yet equally noble. We share a deep commitment to our patients and an obligation to steward how hospitals and clinics that we currently share serve Minnesota. We warmly welcome the Attorney General today, and we publicly thank him for his assistance in bringing the parties together. We affirm our commitment to keep working tirelessly towards an answer. This means that we accept our responsibility to aim for an agreement that works for all involved, recognizing that change is coming as we near the end of our 30-year agreement with Fairview. We need to stay focused on the continuity of high-quality care to patients that comes with an ongoing relationship with Fairview, as well as how our medical school faculty carry out their responsibilities to advance their land-grant mission, charted and overseen by the Board of Regents. We do not know the scope or scale of a future relationship with Fairview, but we are committed to sorting that out. We know that the future solution will look different than an agreement that has been in place for the past 30 years. Simultaneously to working on our next steps with Fairview, we're also exploring how to deepen our relationship with other healthcare partners in Minnesota. The bottom line is that any solution must ensure a successful University of Minnesota medical school. The health of the people of Minnesota over the next 25 to 50 years is at risk. We need to get this right for Minnesota. In our changing world, as a physician leader, I'm concerned for the patients of our state in the years and decades ahead, and am worried about our state's ability to overcome the growing challenges in healthcare delivery. Mr. Attorney General, we pledge our dedication to working with you and your office to shape a solution that keeps Minnesota as a national leader in how academic medicine improves public health and serves this great state. Chair Hipsch.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
President.
President Cunningham. Now I'd like to turn to our board vice chairs, both physicians themselves, to say a few words. Vice Chair Ruth Johnson, do you want to start us off?
Thank you, Chair Hipsch, and extend my personal welcome to you as well, Attorney General Ellison and Strategic Facilitator Lois Quam. The economics of healthcare in our country are clearly complex, to say the least, and federally imposed Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement changes are creating more pressure on our providers to cut costs. Yet it's imperative that we navigate these challenges of today so we can continue delivering world-class care while training the next generation of physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. That is why we are grateful to Attorney General Ellison for taking up this challenging and crucial issue. Finding a path forward is vital to all Minnesotans, and the University of Minnesota cannot solve this alone. The university's priorities are the same as public's priorities, and yet in times of economic stress, the market does not naturally support investment in the future. We need stronger voices to speak out in support of our medical school and its crucial role in educating the next generation of physicians who will deliver this care in urban areas, in rural areas, and in tribal communities, every corner of this state. As a practicing physician myself, I know firsthand the importance of high-quality patient care. And all such care is possible only with the incredible research and training that takes place in schools such as our University of Minnesota Medical School. Our long partnership with Fairview has delivered outstanding results. Academic support dollars have provided for student recruitment, the salaries of our resident and fellows, physicians in their graduate training beyond medical school, research, and in pharmacy expertise. And in turn, that talent and knowledge has fueled mHealth Fairview's delivery of care and our ability to tackle complex problems. We need now to blaze a path forward to build on this success into the future, and Minnesotans are counting on us to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnson. Vice Chair Wheeler?
Yeah, thank you very much for this, Chair Hipsch, this opportunity, and welcome to you both, and appreciate your needed commitment to the greater good that we're after. We welcome the opportunity to build on our relationship with Fairview. While we know it needs to be optimized for the future, there's much good that has been already accomplished together. We also recognize that the university has important and strong ties to other systems. For example, Centric Care and Essentia, which mirror our medical school presence in St. Cloud and in Duluth. Here in the Twin Cities, The medical school and its faculty help to stand up clinical programs and provide outstanding teaching and partner and innovative research with Alina, with Health Partners, with Hennepin Health, with North Memorial Veterans Administration, to name a few. When we say that the medical school is imbalanced, we mean that we need to address how the medical school and its outstanding faculty can not only serve the patients of our health partners, that's certainly a primary responsibility, but also that they do so in a way that brings the full capacity of academic medicine to the entire state of Minnesota, combining teaching, workforce development, and research with patient care, and makes it available to access to rural Minnesota and the tribal Minnesota and underserved populations of the state. I'll conclude by saying the entire state of Minnesota relies on our university medical school faculty to provide more than just the great care of patients, which they do, but it includes the training of the workforce of the future and transforming care through innovation. We understand the ongoing need for our medical school faculty to continue to embrace the larger priorities of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota Medical Center has to retain a strong foundation for that mission of service, which distinguishes us as a university for the public good. Thank you again for your time and your presence here.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wheeler. Mr. Attorney General, we appreciate your help to underscore that the future of the University of Minnesota Medical School is in the balance, and that means the future of Minnesota's health, especially in rural areas like the one that I proudly call home. We also appreciate the work of Lois Quam. She cares deeply about Minnesota. President, pledging our commitment in working with you on these daunting issues. And now invite both of you to share your perspective with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and President Cunningham. Thank you very much. And I want to give a special thanks to Regents Wheeler and Dr. Johnson, who've been spending a lot of time talking with us. And we really do appreciate it. And I want all the Regents to know how much we appreciate all of you. And congratulations to the new Regents. I was able to come in right when you guys were being sworn in, and what a wonderful thing it is. And you know, many of you are personal and long-term friends of mine, and so I'm really proud of you personally. So thank you all very much. In 1857, going back a ways, the United States Congress had the wisdom to grant 72 sections of land that shall be set apart and reserved for the use and support of a state university. This land grant institution, the University of Minnesota, supports the well-being and prosperity of our entire state. Thank you for mentioning rural and urban and suburban Minnesota. The University of Minnesota drew me here in 1987 as a first-year law student. And the state of Minnesota that we all serve and cherish has kept me here ever since. As a law school alum, and I'm sporting my lapel pin today, I'm very proud to be connected with the University of Minnesota. So proud indeed that my daughter is a 2024 graduate of the University of Minnesota Law School. I recently was told that I'll have an article published in the University of Minnesota Law Review coming out this spring. And I'm an adjunct instructor at the law school and the Humphrey School, and was on campus last night talking to students. So Regents, thank you for your service. Claire Hubish, Regent Johnson and Wheeler, and of course, President Cunningham, thank you all specifically for your work on academic health in your comments. The Board of Regents' role as university's governing body and keeper of the university's legacy and future encompasses communities, companies, organizations, individuals across the state of Minnesota, because their success does rely on you. On behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota, you are shepherding this institution very admirably, and I thank you for that. President Cunningham, thank you for your energy and your commitment to the university's statewide healthcare mission and elevating that mission publicly. And thank you for the resources, including the countless hours that you personally and your staff have dedicated and continue to dedicate to the strategic facilitation process to come to new agreements for the future of academic health. The partnership between the University Minnesota Physicians, and let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Greg Billman here today. Thank you for being here. And Fairview has achieved strong results, including most recently mHealth Fairview's University of Minnesota Medical Center's #1 ranking in U.S. News and World Report's Best Hospital Rankings for the Twin Cities. In early August, I toured the East Bank Hospital, and I want to thank the University Physicians Organization, Fairview, and individual physicians and nurses and other healthcare professionals for their dedication to the patients. The partnership between the University of Minnesota Physicians and University has also achieved great success in simultaneously serving patients and training the thousands of medical students, residents, and fellows that become Minnesotans' physician workforce. Indeed, 70% of all doctors in Minnesota have trained at the University of Medical School. Some of them have trained in subspecialties that draw people from across the country and around the world to Minnesota to receive life-saving treatments like blood and bone marrow transplants. There are too many examples like this to count that demonstrate the importance of the university and the medical school to Minnesota and the world. Again, thank you for your commitment to the continued negotiations around the partnership between the University of Minnesota Physicians, and Fairview. We all agree that this partnership is foundational as we forge a path forward for academic health in Minnesota. Time is of the essence, and as your comments highlighted, there are many challenges facing healthcare and higher education. Working out how to face these challenges together in a collaborative way is, as you know, the way we do things in Minnesota. As Minnesota's chief legal officer, my job is to help people afford their lives with dignity, safety, and respect. As one of the university's most famous alumni said, Norman Borlaug, the destiny of the world's civilization depends upon providing a decent standard of living for all mankind. Well, over 1.2 million Minnesotans patients over 36,000 employees, including 10,000 union members, rely on the partnership between the University Physicians, and Fairview. Indeed, all 5.8 million Minnesotans are touched by and rely on the university and this valuable partnership. This is why I'm making my first appearance at the Board of Regents meeting today, and why my office has committed immense time and energy to support the path forward. I thank you for allowing me the honor of addressing you today. And now, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to the designated strategic facilitator, Lois Quam, for a few quick remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney General. And I want to begin by echoing the Attorney General's thanks to the Regents, to President Cunningham, and to President Cunningham, your whole team, for their deep engagement in this work and for your remarks today. Despite the challenges over the past years, when I look at where we are today, I see that the parties can set aside those difficulties to recognize the shared business and financial realities in these relationships. And in doing so, we center patients and the people of Minnesota in all that we do. Securing an agreement with Fairview for the continuity and stability of patient care is vital, and such an agreement provides the basis for ongoing support to the medical school and future partnerships for the university. The importance of securing adequate support for the medical school in the years to come is uppermost in my mind. Having grown up in rural Minnesota, Chair Hipsch, I want to note that the university's call to improve healthcare statewide has taken hold in the negotiations, with all parties proposing approaches to improve access to care and specialized medical knowledge in rural Minnesota. Regents, we all acknowledge and appreciate the importance of a strong and successful university, and your comments today echo that. And with it, the success of the university's partners. There is an exciting shared opportunity to win here together by building a better future, and an inescapable shared obligation to deliver for patients and the people of Minnesota who so utterly depend on these services. Moving ahead now with a core set of agreements between Fairview, the University of Minnesota physicians, and the university is the starting point, a foundation for all that good work to go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General and Strategic Facilitator Quam. Again, we stand ready to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you.
Our next item is to review the university's new strategic plan, which will help us to serve as a roadmap to take us into the future. Joining President Cunningham to present this item are Duluth Campus Chancellor Charles Neese and Vice President for Strategic Initiatives Ryan Schmiesing. President Cunningham, would you please proceed?
Thank you, Chair Hipsch. We are excited to be at this stage of the strategic roadmap process. As I told our university community yesterday, I am in awe of their energy and their engagement. Without giving anything away, I'll simply say that I am confident this is the right time and the right roadmap to guide our university forward, fulfill our mission, and change lives for the better throughout Minnesota, the nation, and the world. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, Ryan Schmiesing, and our Strategic Roadmap Co-Chair and the Chancellor of University of Minnesota Duluth, Charles Neese, with much gratitude for the hours and hours and hours that they have put in, as well as the steering committee. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Cunningham, Chair Hipsch, and Board of Regents. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you the University of Minnesota Strategic Steering Committee's plan at this point in time. It was an honor to serve in this role as co-chair along with Dean Andrew Aline from the Twin Cities College of Science and Engineering. We want to thank you and the entire university community for your engagement in this process. As our steering committee transitions from the role of developing the plan to now championing what we have moving forward, we want to share with you our process that engaged broadly across the campus, starting with listening tours with our campus leaders, where we asked all students, faculty, and staff to share their aspirations for the university. We also did that through visioning sessions and a survey that we did that was the Vision of 2035 survey that collected feedback from all of the campus community. Then as those themes began to emerge from all of those initial campus contacts, we then held over 100 town halls that were facilitated by members of the steering committee, as well as anonymous voice listening sessions to test out those themes. As we developed the draft imperatives and goals, we again went to various leadership groups to solicit their feedback and their input, including the presentation that Ryan and I were able to do at your July retreat. Over the summer and early into the fall semester, we continued to refine those imperatives and goals and began looking at key activities that would inform the way that we move that forward. We then sent out another survey to all students, faculty, and staff for another round of input and feedback on where we were landing with our strategic plan and our imperatives. All of that feedback then became the input and the ideas that resulted in the document that you received as part of your materials for review. This roadmap reflects the unique assets that Minnesota offers and the excellence and strengths that define the University of Minnesota. As we shared in July, the roadmap was developed on an asset-based framework, including the state of Minnesota's rich environmental history and commitment to protect that environment, our care for our communities and our neighbors, a state that has a proud history in the arts and in innovation, and a robust partnership with our tribal nations. We also built a roadmap that similarly reflects and elevates the excellence of the University of Minnesota, and that includes our deep community engagement work, the way that we lead in the country in interdisciplinary science rankings, and advances the discoveries through nationally ranked programs. As President Cunningham mentioned in her opening remarks, we are now moving from ideas and themes into action. And it is my role as co-chair shifts from helping to lead the plan to now being a champion for the plan. I'm also excited to pass this on to Vice President Schmessing. And today, Vice President Schmessing will help you all know what is next in the plan, as well as give that high overview of the elements and aspects as we continue to advance the exciting future of the University of Minnesota.
Thanks, Chancellor Neese and Chair Hips and members of the board. First, I would like to comment as we transition to providing an overview of our proposed plan. I want to stress that the University of Minnesota will continue to be the comprehensive institution that it is today and that we all know. And this roadmap does not represent all that we will do. It represents a set of priorities for us. In fact, on the screen you'll see each of our campuses and colleges will begin work soon to ladder up to this particular plan and to represent more of what we do. As you know, we landed on 5 strategic imperatives that you see on the screen, and yesterday you saw examples of the great work already being done in these imperatives. Now I want to turn to a brief overview of each and highlight some select key actions for each imperative. Imperative 1. We'll center our focus on preparing students to be successful in a multitude of ways. We'll offer more opportunities for them to engage in dialogue, difficult conversations, immersive learning experiences, internships, and career preparation early in their time at the university. Importantly, we'll expand programs to increase the student's sense of belonging, strengthen our mental health related services, and ultimately identify strategies to reduce food security in our university community. The second imperative builds on the great work on our campuses to innovate in the way we teach. Knowing students continue to learn differently. We must continue to conduct research and develop models that result in strategies to be responsive to current and future students and learners, and you heard a lot about that yesterday. We'll expand our programs and courses that are taught in an interdisciplinary manner and develop and activate an online strategy university-wide that serves our current student population and engages new learners as well from all across Minnesota and around the country. We'll continue to embrace AI and understand and appropriately incorporate into our teaching and learning process while understanding it as having significant impacts on instructors, students, and the classroom. Our third imperative, we express our commitment to the state of Minnesota in what we will do and how we'll collaborate. The arts play a critical role in building community, and Minnesotans are deeply engaged all across this state. Strengthening our visibility on our campuses and working in partnership with communities through an integrative arts and design approach across disciplines will be prioritized. We'll accelerate our work with Minnesota employers to ensure alignment with their future needs, train more future healthcare employees, and continue to drive our nationally recognized startup ecosystem. Finally, we'll accelerate our work as the leading spatial university in the country and continue building on our national leadership working with tribal nations. Our fourth imperative, as you know, it prioritizes 4 key research and discovery areas. We'll maintain and grow our leadership in sustainability and climate research, further cementing the fact that if you want to study or research sustainability or climate, you must come to the University of Minnesota. Notably, among many other disciplines, our research on freshwater, deep lake research is second to none in this country. Innovative discoveries in health and healthcare delivery will be critically important for the future of our state, as will prioritizing agricultural innovation as we seek to grow our partnership with producers around the state. Finally, the University of Minnesota is recognized for its early work in AI and will continue to identify priority research and discipline areas our investigators can have the greatest impact. As you know, we can't do any of this that we've previously shared in this comprehensive plan without the talented, dedicated faculty and staff and modern infrastructure. We'll advance our work to retain our talented workforce and implement the plan that you've heard about to modernize facilities and infrastructure, and this includes reimagining the beloved St. Paul campus. As we conclude the presentation, I want to reiterate where Chancellor Neese started the conversation. We are deeply grateful to the entire university community who took time to participate in town halls, focus groups, voice sessions, multiple sessions reviewing the content, and completing 2 surveys. We're also deeply excited about the opportunities ahead for each campus and college and unit to begin their work to refine their strategic plans and strategic roadmaps. And with that, we're happy to take any questions, Regents.
Well, first of all, thank you both for all of your hard work on this. It's not been an easy process, but you've really put this together in a great way. So now I'm going to open it up for comments, questions, and discussion from board members. Does anybody have any comments or discussion? I know we've all been through this quite a bit as well, in meetings and whatever, so I'm not guessing there's going to be a ton, but Regent Tad Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chancellor Nees and Vice President, for your work on this. And I went through a lot of it during our retreat this summer, and appreciated that very much. And wanted to thank you for including our relations with the tribal governments of Minnesota. And a lot is being done. Certainly, the Morris campus has always been welcoming for Native American students, and this campus was the first American Indian Studies program in the United States, and now offers a PhD in American Indian Studies. And UMD, of course, has a great program, and also has an institute that has since 2013 has trained over 10,000 state employees. So anyway, kudos on that. And just as an informational item for me, so much land was taken from Minnesota tribes that it provided the land grant endowment for 35 other universities, including MIT and Cornell University, and several on the Eastern Seaboard. So we have a special, I think, obligation to the Native Americans of the state, and appreciate you including that in the report. And looking forward to working with the Vice President on that as we move forward. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Regent Johnson. Anybody else have any comments?
Just a brief comment on my end.
Yes.
Just really wanting to note the piece of really the economics being the real key imperative here, but also the piece of naming food insecurity and really food security being an imperative for us, for our students, and the well-being, for them to be successful and really active participants in our ecosystem. And so that really being a huge kudos and wanting to see the metrics, the dashboards, are really the data-informed strategies of how we're going to make that happen, but also how we're thinking about our existing infrastructure from a thoughtful, consolidated manner, and how we're seeing the St. Paul campus as a really key nexus of that starting point. There's been historic deferred maintenance there, and so it is really critical to see that North Star happen and come to life, so kudos there. Thank you.
Thank you. Regent Lugar.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch, and I would just build on my colleague's previous comments. First of all, thank you so much for all the excellent work, and based on the work that I have recently been doing in global food security, I'm thrilled to see the increased focus on agriculture and the St. Paul campus, but I think agriculture is something that's so critical to our state, our nation, and our world, and we are a leader already, so building on that, I think, is just terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Lugar. Anybody else? President Cunningham.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch, and thank you again to the team, and to Regents Kosar. I want to assure you that indeed the next step, one does need to wait for the board to approve these things. But indeed the next step is working out, a multitude of action plans, and you'll see, in that report, sort of early action items that we, some of which have been working on in committees over the past year are coming together in this plan. And then, I'm sorry to break it to you, Chancellor Nees, you're not really quite off the hook because, of course, like the rest of our leadership, will then be leading each of their schools through this process where they will then develop what action items are going to happen in each of their schools and on each of their campuses so that we can ladder up to successful forward momentum on this. And with that, one of those next steps that the board has asked for and that I am very committed to is following, once we have an approval of a plan, et cetera, is that we will be bringing back to you metrics and measurements for each of the items for what success looks like and how we'll know if we're getting to success or not. And that would come to the board in December. But one has to move that plan ahead in order for us to develop metrics for it. But we do have a plan for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to just mention, I think I really love the strategic plan because it's a plan for all of Minnesota, not just one area. It's for everybody. It's for all Minnesotans. It's for the land. It's for the water. It's for the food we eat. It's for the health care we have. It encompasses the whole state, and I really appreciate that. That, hopefully when we get into the nitty-gritty of the implementing the plan, we continue with that wide approach to covering all 87 counties. So anyway, thank you. If not, we'll move on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear an update on the university brand positioning from Vice President for Communications, Chris Gotti. When you're ready, Chris, you can begin at any time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Hipsch. Thank you, members of the board. I'm pleased to represent our team in University Marketing Communications and our function across the university to share an update on progress of the evolution of our function, to share a bit of where we're headed in terms of our strategy across our department, to share a glimpse into some of the new ways we're working together across the function of marketing communications at the University of Minnesota, to share a handful of examples of progress. Very specifically, you experienced some of that early yesterday morning in terms of the integrated approach and emphasis we placed upon introduction of the strategic roadmap to leaders across the university. I will indeed share an update of where we are in our timeline for revision and of the brand and the brand positioning of the University of Minnesota. Talk about ways we are supporting our healthcare enterprise, and also some results from the most recent of the integrated approach we took to the Minnesota State Fair. For us as a team and as a function across the university, we really have three primary areas of emphasis. We are firmly committed to aligning our work to the priorities of the University of Minnesota. That starts first by serving and supporting the mission of the University of Minnesota, but also being very cognizant of what are the priorities that will ensure that that mission sustains well into the future. We're also being very intentional about forging new ways of working together, first inside of our department. May not seem like a big deal, but we did not call ourselves marketing and communications. We are marketing communications. We're a single team of people working in concert, first within our department, but also identifying new ways of working across the university, both processes, tools to support that so that the campuses, the colleges, and the units can thrive in concert with the work we're doing for the university. We're also being very intentional about identifying specific capabilities, both within our team members, but also giving growth opportunities for members of our team and across the function to really display their ability and capabilities to drive growth for the university broadly. We did a somewhat old-fashioned thing and said, how do we answer this question when we started this process? Is why do we exist? To reiterate, we exist first and foremost to advance the mission, but also the priorities of the University of Minnesota, and to really advance our land-grant institutional commitments in education, research, and community-engaged outreach. Importantly, not just to Minnesota, but across the nation, and we'll talk more about that when we talk specifically about brand. And we're doing that in ways that is more unified, prioritized around key strategies, and cultivating an ecosystem, a culture, and environment of collaboration, and deploying what we see in industry as being best in class, displayed through tactics and our day-to-day operations. We have 4 primary objectives within our department, but also within our function. And each of those objectives is led by a member of our leadership team within marketing communications. Our first objective is to drive mission and business priorities through objective-driven marketing communication strategies. 5 weeks ago, we were pleased to welcome Stacy Hiller to our team. Stacy is here today. She's our Chief Communications Officer, joined us most recently from Medtronic, that spent considerable time in Twin Cities, large leading organizations, brings a wealth of experience and talent to our team. Ann Aronson leads elevating brand awareness, understanding engagement through reputation, and building trust with stakeholders. Ann has been at the University of Minnesota for more than 2 decades and brings considerable experience prior to her University of Minnesota time at Target, and was the leader with a team of people that first introduced Driven to Discover, which was really an approach in branding for higher education that was leading edge and different at that time and stood the test of time, and is now leading this next phase of evolution of our brand. Our third objective is engaging and activating faculty, staff, and students and alumni through transparent, timely communications that connect our people, brand values, and priorities. Christy Wells is a senior director within our team. She has responsibilities for internal and leadership communications. She's a longtime member of the University of Minnesota and has done terrific work galvanizing a strategy for internal communications that didn't previously exist. And we're doing that in partnership with people across the university, but also importantly, leadership communications. How do we ensure that leaders have the information they need in advance of major events occurring, including things like the strategic roadmap and other key priorities? And finally, our fourth objective is really about empowering our function of marketing communications professionals to be effective through culture, collaboration, and alignment, building on a best-in-class marketing communications team with resources, capability, and structures. Cade Nardi-Warner is our Chief of Staff in our department, previously worked on the PEAK project, so has that background, but worked at Ecolab and other organizations, including public relations firms outside of the university, brings a wealth of experience, knowledge inside the university and out, and is really the champion for our overall strategy and how do we best work with people across the organization. We're thinking broadly. I mean, the key to success in this space going forward is the relationships we have across a very decentralized organization. And how do we bring more of an integrated, unified strategy across everything we do? First, within our team in collaboration with the President's Office, but also working very closely with leads in the campuses, colleges, and units to ensure that their priorities are met and we build tools, resources, and assets, but most importantly, integrated strategies that are driven by performance measures. So as our work continues to evolve as a group, a big part of what we're thinking through is how do we reimagine some of our roles? How do we move from more transactional support, ensuring a level of accountability, but also ensuring that things are rooted in strategy? And what are the processes for us to work together? And what is the level of functional integration and accountabilities around what plan is built locally and what plans are built centrally? A big part of what we will do that and how we will accomplish that is through our group called Marketing Communication Leads, but also working very closely with some key elements of the organization. The Research Innovation Office, Athletics, the Alumni Association, the Foundation, Greg Goldman's team, the healthcare team, and in agriculture. The closest relationships for the biggest brands and most visible parts of the organization, but also ensuring that the many parts of the organization are working in harmony across our function. We're also being intentional about strengthening our team, both within our department and across the organization, and ensuring that we have very strong capabilities in the areas of issues management. Every hour of every day brings the challenge around a different set of issues, as we all know, but a big part of what we're doing is ensuring that we have the talent in place to best manage those issues, focus in those areas, but also have other members of our team who can focus energy around storytelling and content strategy and are not consumed by the issues, but that leaders have what they need to address issues, but we also have energy around the proactive storytelling. We're also putting considerable energy in building out a leadership communications strategy and looking at how do we optimize the digital experience for all stakeholders across the university. We're not there yet on that digital experience. Considerable work, of course, has been done for an extended period of time in that space, but how do we strengthen that even more fully going forward? We're also thinking about content creation, management, and governance. We are thinking broadly across the spectrum of that activity. Alicia Barr joined our team about 8 weeks ago, probably 3 months ago now, and is doing significant work in partnership with Ann Aronson, with Stacy Hiller, and our broad team to create that continuity of content generation around key priorities so that campuses, colleges, and units can tap into that more fully. It resonates with the evolution of our brand and the priorities of the organization going forward. Building a more cohesive internal communication strategy, reaching our own people first, and then sharing it outside the organization, and then staying diligent about building those digital experience tools and the technology that will advance and move our work forward. So just a handful of examples that are in keeping with this mindset, the strategy we're building, and the new ways of working together. We were really excited for yesterday morning, to be candid. It was not only a great opportunity to introduce the strategic roadmap, but it was a way to build energy across the leaders of the organization and the rest of the organization as one university. It was an incredible lift, a great body of work done by a great group of people, not only inside of our team, but also in partnership, especially with the foundation team and Gopher Athletics, but people across the university working as a new way of working together. So the intent of yesterday was to introduce the imperatives first to leaders to respect the decision-making and role that you have as regents. But over the course of the next 5 weeks, part of what we will do as part of the leadership communication strategy is go deeper on each of the 5 imperatives. And then pending your approval in mid-November, we will name the plan. We will go deeper on how you implement that work as leaders across the organization. We're also thinking about how do we integrate into the foundation's fall donor events? How do we reuse those assets, some of those assets we saw yesterday, as part of their strategy for engaging more benefactors? And we're also, of course, integrating and aligning to the evolution of the overall brand positioning, and I'll talk more about that in a second. In terms of leadership communications, people perceive that one person perhaps maybe needs to tell us all what to do across the university. In fact, it's just the opposite. What research shows is the person that people listen to most is their local leader. Messages from the president are strong, but candidly, when we do research and survey work, it's in the 35 to 40% range of people who view that as the voice they need to follow, as opposed to 75 to 80% they follow their local leader. So it's essential that we not only have messages from the president, but that we also have messages and we equip leaders not only with the information, but also the capability and expectation that they speak directly to their teams. So part of what we're building in this space is literally a digital portal that gives people some of those assets. We'll be introducing that yet this month, and more regularly communicating with them to ensure that they have what they need, but also that they feel a sense of empowerment to share consistent, meaningful, and transparent communications with their team members. Brand positioning. We have a very unique moment at the University of Minnesota where many elements are coming together around the strategic roadmaps introduction, the integration of a system optimized approach across the university from the system integration work group, but also the dawn of the next campaign in support of the foundation, a more integrated alumni strategy. And right in the center of that is a refresh of our brand positioning. Our team, in partnership with others across the organization, have landed with input from stakeholders, both leaders inside and outside the organization, both qualitative and quantitative research on the essence of that brand positioning. You felt, hopefully, some of the essence of that brand in yesterday's presentation. We're starting to deploy that. We are also sending a very intentional message to the university community that it's time. Driven Discover has served us very well, but it's time to move past that, not to move past research discovery, but to integrate research discovery into an even more stronger emphasis on our commitment to education, community service, and research discovery. So where we are in the timeline of activity, that we are literally at the stage of now beginning to test the concepts of that core creative asset that will include a new tagline. Once we land on that tagline in research, and we're testing that inside the organization, outside the organization, across Minnesota, but we're also testing it in markets across the United States. Because part of what we want to be able to do is foster an enrollment marketing strategy that supports the work we do going forward, but also philanthropy and all facets of engagement for a more national presence. The results of that research will be in, hopefully, by the end of November. In December, we will decide on what that core creative asset and tagline is. We'll begin the start of the development of those assets in December. March, we will launch the internal components of that inside the organization first. And when we hit the end of August next year, including at the State Fair and the start of the academic year, is the external launch of that new brand. We'll see that across many things and in many different ways. Again, not just our team, but doing it in partnership across the university marketing communications function. We'll see it externally in a variety of ways. We'll see it in events, on our campuses, in our community. We'll see it environmentally. And just to note, we also want to be very good financial stewards for the university, like all parts of the university. So this will be phased in over time. And yes, you may see some high-profile Driven to Discover signs that maybe we don't change up immediately, but we want to change that going forward. And we will also realize that through very robust internal engagement strategies. Part of our conversations are with Ken Horstman's team around how do we support a partnership with their team on leadership development and leadership communications. So through training, we'll do a robust set of tools, trainings, and workshops about how to apply this brand more fully going forward. And final, in the lower right quadrant, how do we align this again with the strategic roadmap, with an evolved approach to recruitment across the organization and an aligned recruitment marketing strategy, to the new alumni strategy of the organization, and in partnership with the foundation in the philanthropic campaign. Just a final example, just to cite as near the close here, is State Fair 2025. So looking back, we took a much more integrated approach to this year's Minnesota State Fair. We achieved some good progress. We did not solve everything, but we see great opportunity to use the State Fair even more fully going forward as a true showcase of the university. It's pretty simple what we started doing. We just started meeting together across the disparate parts of the presence of the University of Minnesota at the State Fair. We built an integrated theme. That theme was building a greater Minnesota together. We built some tools and ways for us to do things together that yielded some good results, including a passport program that included prizes for participants from across the university. We had more than almost 2,000 people participate in that passport program. We emphasized heavily news coverage as part of that, reached about 1.3 million people through that news coverage. And we distributed tote bags, all of those kinds of things, bearing that building a greater Minnesota together, reaching more than 15,000 people. But as we look ahead to next year and the Minnesota State Fair, we see it as a great opportunity to further that collaboration, that integration, to introduce the brand, the revised brand of the organization, to celebrate the university's 175th anniversary, and to integrate that theme more fully across everything we do there. But we also know that one place we weren't this year was the education building. And we know next year we will be in the education building, in part to, again, introduce the brand and to integrate and celebrate the 175th anniversary. So see great opportunity for the State Fair as a showcase for the university, especially as it coincides with the start of the academic year. I believe we've made good progress in evolving our function. Just very grateful for the board's support of that and the president and the entire leadership team as we go forward, and would be happy to take your questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. President Cunningham.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, thank you so much to Vice President Gotti. And so for our newer regents, Vice President Gotti started 10 months ago, right? So, has not been here for forever. So in this time, one of the priorities that the board decided on this year, and that we were working on some from last year in our annual goal setting, was to really elevate and manage our communication structure. And so some of the things that, especially for newer folks, you might think these sound obvious and kind of have been in place, have not been in place. And so this is by the attracting, and I can't emphasize enough, the amazing talent that Chris is attracting to these positions, as well as bringing with that lots of new thinking. So the kinds of strategic alignment, we are a very decentralized place, and we will remain decentralized in many ways with good ideas coming up from units. But as a university, as we're trying to get messaging across, it is important that those are also echoed and not inconsistent, and all those sorts of components by, even in things like the strategic plan at the unit level. As we work to have leaders, and as Chris said, with no demeaning of my role at all, in every organization, the local leaders are the ones that are more able to reach their local employees. And so, but then that message to resonate has to be consistent, and we have to have a way to do that, and we haven't had a way to do that necessarily before. So this sort of alignment and the kinds of messages you folks are getting on issues management, which hopefully then make it so that everyone can answer questions about whatever the issue is of the 5 minutes before us, which there always is one, is super helpful. And then just thinking how we lay that strategy into communications. And so if there's a couple takeaways, this is moving from what has been more reactive to a very proactive, strategic approach across the university for marketing and communications. For marketing communications, I'll take out the end, to think about, but also that we have this moment in time which most universities just don't have. And so this is excellent for us in that we have new strategic planning, a new campaign coming out, enrollment marketing and enrollment planning, which is new and right in progress. I'll be back to the board with that in 2 months. And then the opportunity with that to launch a brand. That combination of things, which often happens disparately, gives the university the opportunity to focus it together and use that to really catapult in a very successful way. But with that requires a lot of what seems smooth and obvious, thousands of hours of work by this team, which has been coming along then now recently, and focused efforts. And so, and the event yesterday was a great example of what happens when we can think strategically, as opposed to me sending out a message saying we're launching this, and how that matters across the university. So with a lot of thanks to Chris, who's been working really hard for the past 10 months, and for the team that he's brought along in doing this, and for the culture change that also then takes across the organization as we think about strategy and how we work together in a broader way while still respecting the local communications and local culture, but how do we have a university integrated approach? So I just wanted to give that sort of top level. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I have to agree that yesterday's event, I don't think could have been much better. I don't know how you would have made it better. It was really great. It's really exciting to see the brand come alive. So, Regent Turner.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the event. I was coming back from San Francisco.
It'll be online. You can watch it.
All right, very good. President Cunningham said it way better than I'm about to, but I do remember as 2 years ago when I was doing my onboarding and going from each campus, and one of the biggest sources of frustration was our total lack of a coordinated marketing and communications. And so I just want to express my gratitude that when the new Regents start to go out to do their onboarding and going to all of the campuses, that they're going to have a much better, hopefully much better report about that whole, because we were very siloed, and it just felt like everyone was kind of left out there to try to do their own thing. And so I am extremely appreciative of all that you have done.
Thank you.
And your team.
And with that, if I may, Regent Turner, I want to thank the chancellors and the deans also, who have done a lot of work in really thinking about what we can do together and what's working well in their campuses and units, but then also how those folks work with a new approach is really a testament to their leadership on their campuses and in their schools as we move that forward. It will take everyone doing it.
Yeah.
I would just say thank you, Regent Turner. We have made considerable progress. We have more progress to make, and we just welcome your continued support as we do that.
Thank you. Any other further comments or discussion? If not, we thank you and look forward to the November, December. Thank you. Okay, now we'll hear an update on the annual report of the University of Minnesota Foundation. Let me welcome John Morris, CEO and President of UMF, to provide the report. Mr. Morris, you can proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, President Cunningham, and good morning, Chair Hipsch and members of the board. We're happy to have the time today to present the University of Minnesota Foundation's annual report on giving. Today, I'm pleased to provide an overview of the foundation, review fundraising accomplishments from last fiscal year, which ended June 30th, 2025, and most importantly, share with you the joy we see every day in our work, the joy of our donors, the students and faculty who benefit from their generosity, and even the joy these experiences bring to our team. Let's start with an overview of the foundation. We're an independent, operational 501c3 nonprofit corporation, governed by a 43 board member of trustees. They are responsible for our fiduciary and governance integrity of the foundation. They also are some of the most deeply passionate advocates, ambassadors, and investors in the university. 2 regents and the president of the university currently serve on our board, with 1/4 of our trustees nominated by this Board of Regents. Thank you, Chair Hipsch, Regent Johnson, and President Cunningham for your valued service and engagement on our board. Additional thanks to Regent James Farnsworth for your service last year on our audit committee, and we formally welcomed Regent Cody Verhalen to our audit committee last week. We collaborate system-wide to raise private support for students, faculty, research, and outreach to the community. The gifts we receive and steward come from individuals, foundations, and corporations. And in return, partnering with our university, we ensure the dollars are used exactly as they are intended. This means we raise funds for all 5 of our campuses in Crookston, Duluth, Morris, Rochester, and here in the Twin Cities. We also work with donors and volunteers statewide, coast to coast, and around the globe. We're proud to have a passionate development staff working hand in hand with every college, campus, and program across the university. We are committed to excellence in fundraising, working every day to ensure our donors have the most gratifying gifting experiences possible. One of the key ways we do this is by providing central fundraising support through the university in the areas of finance, information technology, human resources, and marketing communications. By providing these shared fundraising services, we're able to deliver results more efficiently, ensuring more focus on raising new dollars across the system, which benefits everyone. We also govern 2 subsidiaries. The first, the University of Minnesota Foundation Real Estate Advisors, or UMFREA, a private real estate manager for the university which strives to ensure gifts of real estate produce a return on investment and contribute to a vibrant and thriving environment. Through a 2007 estate gift from U of M alum James Cargill, UMFREA manages the Denikin properties just south of Washington Avenue, providing affordable student housing at 3 locations for up to 1,000 students each year. The second subsidiary is the University of Minnesota Foundation Investment Advisors, or UMFIA, which provides professional, cost-effective management of the philanthropic endowment. Due to increased private gifts and strategic investment strategy, over the last decade, UMF endowment has doubled to $4 billion. And in just the last fiscal year alone, the endowment grew from 3.7 to its total of $4 billion, which reflects the expertise of these advisors and their governing board. Now let's dive into the fundraising results from last fiscal year. The top headline is that 88,770 donors made gifts to the university. These nearly 89,000 donors took a bold action to fund the cause they care about through this university that they love. And the result of that was $464 million, the highest year of fundraising in the university's history. What an incredible vote of confidence from our community of donors. $464 million is a huge number. So let's unpack that a bit. Here you see fundraising totals over the last 2.5 decades with a strong upward trajectory. Of this year's $464 million, $312 million came in as cash in pledges, with 148 as direct cash payments and 164 million in the form of pledge commitments, typically to be paid over the next 5 years. 159 million of our fiscal year total is comprised of planned and future gifts, commitments that will be realized most often after the donor's lifetime. The remaining 3 million came from gifts of real property and in-kind gifts. Not only was it a record year in raising funds, it was also a record year for the dollars we put back to work at the university, which you can see highlighted in this gold line. Throughout the year, $304 million in private support was put to use across the university system for students, programs, research, and more, all in line with the donor's intent. These funds are bringing the donors' visions to life and making meaningful differences in our campus and beyond. As we move forward, the foundation has framed its goals around our ultimate and enduring objective: to pursue the most exceptional foundation for our donors, for our people, team, and for our university. This means we'll focus on partnering with donors to raise and distribute funds to the university, defining a high-performing and high-purpose culture for our team at the foundation, and advancing the university's greatness as its most strategic partner, and continuing to work with our university leaders to harness the power of philanthropy that fuels the priority and vision of this great university. There's a lot of work ahead of us, but I'm confident that our team, in partnership with our university leaders, is up for the challenge. All of the outcomes I just shared are wonderful. And just ask my team, I believe in tangible, measurable outcomes. But what's even more inspiring is how lives are changed through these outcomes for the University of Minnesota. Each gift represents a vision, someone's unique hope to make a difference by investing what they believe in. That gift sparks possibility at the University of Minnesota. It illuminates pathways to a better future for everyone. When we see students thrive, when we see research flourish, when we see communities uplifted by the power of learning and outreach, it reminds us why our work at the Foundation matters. From donors to students, to patients, to researchers, to development staff, and on, philanthropy brightens lives and enhances how we view the world. We have the privilege of seeing this joy of giving firsthand every day. And today, I'd like to share a few examples with you to give you a glimpse into that joy. Meet Gary and Nancy Grammons. They spent their careers caring for others. He as an oncologist and she as a nurse. But their commitment to helping patients in the midst of medical crisis didn't stop when they retired. They had seen firsthand the anxiety and worry connected with a cancer diagnosis. But they also knew the financial concerns caused just as much stress to patients and families. So they created the Dr. Gary L. and Nancy J. Grammons Cancer Patient Support Fund to provide emergency financial assistance for patients and their families. Their fund was created to relieve anxiety by helping patients pay for expenses like mortgages and rent, utility bills, co-pays, and medication expenses, as well as supplementing lost wages during the course of a patient's treatment. Additionally, Nancy and Gary worked with development staff at the foundation to set up a match on Give to the Max Day. This provided their friends and family the opportunity to donate to their fund and also experience the joy of making a difference in this specific way. The influence of Gary and Nancy's generosity goes beyond its many beneficiaries. Sean Keenan, an Associate Vice President of Development at the University of Minnesota Foundation, says, "Serving as Gary and Nancy's development officer has been one of the greatest joys of my career. Their deep compassion for patients facing both cancer and financial hardship is truly remarkable and inspires everyone around them. To witness their generosity transform into real hope for families during their most vulnerable moments is profoundly meaningful." In addition to advancing medical breakthroughs in patient care, the university is also uniquely positioned to think about health in broader terms, like protecting the health of our lakes, our rivers, and the environment we all share. University of Minnesota researchers at the St. Anthony Falls Lab are tackling critical and unprecedented problem, stormwater runoff, the leading cause of pollution in our urban waterways and drinking water supplies. With donor support, they are working to protect this vital resource for generations to come. Let's take a look how.
We've been doing stormwater research at St. Anthony Falls Laboratory for almost 25 years. We're now finding new chemicals building up in the pond sediments. There are so many things going on in the ponds that we were never aware of. We're currently testing 10, but there are literally thousands of these chemicals out in the environment. Once we have the samples, we send them over to Professor Bill Arnold's laboratory so he can analyze them and tell us the concentration of these pollutants.
The hope was that the compost or the biochar would absorb the contaminants. And it turns out that works really well with the biochar. It basically captures everything. And the compost really doesn't do much, right? And that was kind of surprising to us.
Our mixes have 100% sand in them. We didn't expect any removal, but the microbes are doing the work for us. Microbes that are in the Mississippi River water that we're using for our experiments are actually breaking down some of these chemicals.
Think of water as free or very low cost, right? Especially in a place like Minnesota where we have an abundance of water. It's, I think, a much more fragile balance that's susceptible to disruption than we realize.
Everybody in Minnesota loves having clean water. So it's important for us to understand the pollutants that are in it, how we can remove them, so we can ensure clean water for us and for future generations and the ecosystem long into the future.
The St. Anthony Falls Lab is a powerful example of what can happen when many come together for a shared purpose. Not only does this research cross many disciplines at the university, it is also funded by multiple sources, including 647 individual donors, 40% of whom live outside of our state of Minnesota. Lab engineer Dr. Erickson explains that philanthropic gifts give us the flexibility to address the most pressing needs, and we can rapidly respond to those challenges with research. Through collaboration, innovation, and generosity, we are safeguarding Minnesota's water today so it remains a source of life, health, and joy for generations to come. This is Wendy Bryan, who earned her degree in elementary education at University of Minnesota Duluth in 1973. Growing up, her father was a University of Minnesota professor, which provided her many travel opportunities, including living abroad with her parents during 2 full-year sabbaticals. Later on, she realized how special that was, and that most kids don't grow up traveling the world. When she became a teacher, Wendy sought out opportunities to teach abroad and spent years living and teaching in Holland, Venezuela, and Egypt. She says, while teaching abroad, I saw American college students doing their student teaching and saw how energized and motivated they were by their entire living abroad experience. Years later, she spoke with development staff at the University of Minnesota Duluth and shared both her enthusiasm about teaching abroad and her desire to help others do the same. They were thrilled to help her create a scholarship to do just that. So, with a generous gift to her university, Wendy established the UMD International Student Teaching Scholarship. Since then, photos and reports from scholarship recipients have helped her see firsthand how their time abroad is helping them achieve their hopes and dreams. She says, I really love reading the responses. They are just so appreciative, and you can really glean from them how much they have grown. It is my hope that the recipients have expanded their views of the world, and these experiences can be reflected in their classrooms. Thanks to Wendy, generations of students will carry their knowledge and passion across borders, just as she did. Now, I'd like to tell you about Steve Thomas, a graduate of the university who came to the foundation about 10 years ago to discuss starting a scholarship. His goal was to make an estate gift to reward students who worked full-time, year-round, while pursuing their degree. You see, while he was a student at the university, he worked 10-hour days, 6 days a week at Williams Pub to support himself throughout college. Ultimately, he still needed to take on loans to complete his degree, and he wanted to reduce that burden for future students who were working while going to school. And though he planned to create the scholarship through an estate gift, he began to get excited about the idea of seeing the impact of his gift in his lifetime. So Steve decided to make current gifts. In addition to his estate gift, he created the Stephen J. Thomas Jr. Students Who Work Scholarship. Over the last decade, he was able to witness the impact of his giving, and in his lifetime, the scholarship supported 27 students with a full tuition award in their final year at the university. Meeting and getting to know his recipients of his scholarship was a true highlight of his life. He knew each of them by name, as well as their individual story and educational journey. When Steve passed away just last year, his family created a beautiful display at his memorial gathering, highlighting photos of him with his scholars he supported and the personal letters he received from them. UMF's Senior Director of Gift Planning, Susan Holmes, had the honor of working with him on this scholarship. Over the years, and last year, she spoke at his memorial. She said, Steve wanted to give to something he believed in, and to reflect the role the university played in his life, and that is exactly what he did. And the recipients of his scholarship, like Gabriella and Andrea you see here, describe the ways it changed their lives. Gabriella says, this has been a big relief to my family. It's been really helpful to have the support to finish strong in my final year at the university. And Andrea says that she was able to pursue opportunities like teaching abroad after graduation instead of being held back by debt. Now that his estate gift has been realized, the Students Who Work Scholarship will continue to impact students at the university for generations to come. Additionally, I believe that Steve's family is watching this morning, so I'd like to say a quick hello and offer our deep gratitude on behalf of the university. The joy of giving is never more evident than we have the opportunity to hear from scholarship recipients. I'd like to close with a short video of students from across the entire University of Minnesota and all of our campuses who have benefited from scholarship support. Here's what they have to say.
Thank you so much to all the scholarship donors and for funding the scholarship. I am very excited to see what the future holds for me and to pursue my dreams of becoming a nurse.
Your kindness not only helps students like me, but also inspires us to give back in the future.
I can focus on my studies, and I can also focus on my running and cross country and track.
I am originally from Minnesota, specifically Lakeville, but my parents come from Mexico, and they've had it pretty rough for the first couple of years here in America. It just relieves a bunch of stress off my parents, which is the best.
My dad has had a disability my whole life and has been sick, so money has been a difficult situation for me and my family, but I was determined to use these scholarship opportunities and work hard.
I'm very glad that I get to go through college worrying about what actually matters, being a successful student.
It's been hard working 3 jobs simultaneously, taking 18 credits, so it's just like, this is gonna help me take a big weight off my chest.
Just this overwhelming sense of joy that the path to pursue my dream career had been made easier.
I have to say it felt very nice. It was very helpful in making me feel welcomed here at the campus of Duluth.
I'm so happy and touched to see that I've gotten a scholarship from the donors, and this is such a great opportunity for me, and I'm so glad, and I appreciate it so much.
What you're doing for me and many other students is beyond admirable, and I hope to take what you've given me and give back to others someday.
I'm proud to say that with this scholarship, I will be able to honor my family and become the first person in my entire family to go to college. Thank you again for giving me this scholarship and making my dreams come true.
Talk about joy. I'd like to close by thanking each of you for your service as Regents. The work you do to lead and guide our university makes so much of what we saw today possible. Additionally, I know many of you are familiar with the joy of giving yourselves, and we're grateful for that as well. We appreciate your partnership in helping us change lives in our community and beyond. Thank you for your time this morning, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Oh, that's quite a presentation. Thank you. I mean, brings tears to your eyes to think that 20,000 students were given a scholarship of some sort almost last year. To me, that's so incredible, the generosity that we have in our state and nation and world that would donate. And I want to thank you and all your staff and all your donors for all you do to help the university, because we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'm going to open this up for discussion now. Does anybody have any discussion? Quiet group today, but I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing. So I appreciate, just deep appreciation for everything you and your staff are doing, and to the donors of our great state. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cody.
Oh, did you?
Just really quick.
Oh, I didn't even see.
It's okay. I'm
Okay, you're-
often not seen.
Well, should we let her talk? Okay, we'll let you go. Go ahead.
I just really wanted to express my gratitude to the UMF team, and especially in being so thoughtful and working with the different campuses, because families aren't necessarily just tied to one campus, to one college, et cetera. And so the thoughtfulness of even taking the systemness from enrollment and strategies and attracting students and families to giving is really important and really appreciated. So thank you to you and your teams.
Thank you.
Regent Bergstrom.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch. I would just echo, as a former mediocre fundraiser myself, it's amazing to see where the foundation has gotten to since the merger of the foundation. So thanks for all the work you do.
First of all, I really want to thank John Morris for the great partnership we've had. It's been a joy getting to work with you and your team in the time that you've been here. And John, I know you speak eloquently and passionately, and whenever people see numbers, especially large numbers like this that are exciting, you often speak about donor intent. And if you could just talk about that a moment, because I think it is important whenever we put numbers like this out to be really clear what's happening with those dollars and where they go and how they have to be used. And so if you could just speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, when you think of the responsibility and the fiduciary responsibility of the foundation, it is to donor intent, which meaning exactly where they directed it. So put to use $305 million on campus precisely as donor intended. So as I often say, there isn't choice to the dean, to the president, to the administrator, what that philanthropic dollar does. We do that in complete honor and direction of the donor. And so that is part of our responsibility to work directly with our campus partners in ensuring that intent is hit every single time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we'll turn to our reports of committees. I'll note that the Academic Health and Governance and Policy Committees did not meet this month. Let us begin with the Audit and Compliance Committee. Regent Verhalen, please share your report with us.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch. The Audit and Compliance Committee did not consider any action items this month. In addition to the committee's work plan for the year, we discussed the following items. First, Assistant Vice President and Controller Molly Viola provided the committee with an overview of the financial statements review process through a flipped presentation. I encourage all of the regents to watch that. The committee will also review the final fiscal year 2025 annual financial report in December, which will also be provided as an information item to the Finance and Operations Committee at that time. Next, Associate Vice President Catherine Bonison provided an update on the university's Enterprise Risk Management Program and highlighted how the ERM team is aligning their work with the goals of the proposed university strategic plan. The committee looks forward to further engagement on this topic as the risk management landscape and institutional risk profile continue to evolve. Our second flip presentation was an overview of the internal audit process. Again, I encourage all of the regents to watch that presentation. In addition, Chief Auditor Galswick provided the committee with an internal audit update covering the past 4 months. He reported that 15% of high-risk audit items were resolved by university departments. Although that is a lower implementation rate than our goal, it's important to note that over half of the outstanding items are from recent audits, receiving first-time follow-up, and only 24% are past the planned remediation date, which is the lowest level in 3 years. Finally, the committee heard an information item from Chief Auditor Galswick, who reported 2 engagements that required after-the-fact reporting. Thank you, Chair Hipsch. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Verhalen. Now we will hear the report of the Litigation Review Committee. Regent Hines, your report, please.
Thank you, Chair Hipsch. The Litigation Review Committee's agenda included 2 items this month. First, General Counsel Peterson highlighted the work of the Office of the General Counsel over the past year as presented in the annual report on legal matters. I'll note that the report is also included in the docket for this meeting. For our second item, the committee adopted a resolution that authorized the closing of the meeting to discuss matters subject to attorney-client privilege. Thank you, Chair Hipsch. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will receive the reports of the Mission Fulfillment and Finance and Operations Committee. Their reports will note those items the committee has approved on behalf of the board. We will start with the Finance and Operations Committee. Regent Wheeler, your report, please.
Thank you, Chair Hipps. The Finance and Operation Committee approved 5 items on behalf of the board this month. Those items were 2 collective bargaining agreements and the resolution related to the President's recommended 2025 6-year capital plan and the 2026 state capital request. The remaining items in the consent report, which included the appointment of debt underwriters and 1 employment agreement, and the resolution related to the transfer of East Cliff to the University of Minnesota Foundation. There were no other action items approved this month. Thank you, Chair Hipps. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Wheeler. For the Mission Fulfillment Committee, Regent Tad Johnson, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Mission Fulfillment Committee unanimously approved 1 item on behalf of the board this month. That item was the consent report, which included approval of the new academic programs, approval of changed academic plans, approval of discontinued academic plans, conferral of tenure for new hires, and the approval of the amended Goldstein Museum of Design Collections Management Policy. There were no other action items that were approved this month. Thank you, Chair Hipsch. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Johnson. Okay, that brings us to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before this board? Okay, seeing none, is there any new business to come before this board? There being no additional business before this board, this meeting is adjourned. And note the time.